My half-brother escaped to my wife's place because my stepmom was treating him badly, and my stepmom ordered my wife to send him away. Now they're saying they'll kick my wife out of the family unless she says sorry for not doing what they wanted. I'm a 32-year-old guy who's been married to my wife Vivian, 29, for 6 years. We've got 3 children together. I've got a bunch of siblings, but this story is about my half-brother Trevor, 18, who lives in another state. Trevor came to visit over his spring break. My stepmom has never liked Trevor, mostly because she doesn't like his mother. About 3 days into Trevor's visit, my stepmom kept making snarky comments about him, his mom, his family, school, his tattoo, etc. Trevor got tired of this, grabbed his car keys, and said he was leaving. This was around 11 p.m. My stepmom laughed and said he didn't have enough gas to get home or money to get more. Trevor said that he didn't need enough gas or money to get home. He just needed enough gas to get to my house. My stepmom laughed again and said I wasn't even home. I was at work, which was true. I work nights, and that Vivian, my wife, would never let him stay there. I hung up, certain my stepmother would persist with her demands. Within minutes, she called Trevor directly, spinning the same tale about my supposed absence. My stepmother immediately contacted my wife, demanding she refuse Trevor entry to our home. When my wife explained she wouldn't abandon him in the middle of the night, my stepmother erupted, claiming authority over family decisions and threatening to make life difficult if my wife didn't comply. She insisted my wife had no right to make decisions about our home without my permission. The conversation deteriorated until my wife ended it, stating my stepmother could no longer bully Trevor. While I worked, unaware of the unfolding drama, my stepmother contacted me claiming my wife had been disrespectful. She then called my father, who also worked nights, presenting her version of events. My father demanded my wife apologize for her behavior. When my wife finally reached me, Trevor had arrived at our house and they explained everything. I defended my wife to my father, but he insisted on an apology. Family members began texting, claiming my wife had overstepped boundaries and should apologize or face exclusion from family gatherings. They accused her of helping Trevor escape consequences, though none could specify what he'd done wrong. My wife, who always worried about upsetting others, began feeling guilty about potentially damaging my family relationships. I'd struggled with family connections for years before recently improving them, making this situation particularly painful. However, I couldn't allow such blatant disrespect toward my wife. Trevor's biological mother contacted me, thanking my wife for providing him sanctuary with real family. After reflection, I noticed previous subtle instances of my stepmother's disrespect toward my wife that hadn't seemed significant before. I called my father, with my stepmother present on speaker. I firmly stated my wife wouldn't apologize and could make her own decisions about guests in our home. My stepmother accused me of controlling my wife by preventing her from making things right. I responded that I'd accept that risk rather than allow continued harassment. I told them their behavior was borderline insane, expecting apologies after bullying and threatening an adult. If they wanted to exclude my wife and consequently me and our children from the family, we'd save them the trouble. I announced we'd block everyone's numbers, then hung up mid-argument. After blocking family members, I received a Facebook message from my stepsister, my stepmother's only biological child, who'd always been close with my wife. She hadn't been involved in the conflict, so I explained the situation. She revealed similar experiences with her mother toward her and her fiancé, expressing she'd wanted to cut ties previously, but feared being isolated without other family. Learning we'd blocked everyone, she hung up to consider her options. I waited anxiously, wondering what decision she'd make after realizing the full extent of our family's fracture. So while I might have lost a decent amount of family members, I did actually get to keep the best 2 out of the bunch, plus obviously my wife and kids. Thanks to everyone for the advice. Top relevant comments commenter. It's actually really sweet that this whole blow up let the stepmom's daughter know she would still have family if she finally cut off her ridiculous mother. And I love that she clarified the situation, asked OP to give her a minute, called her mother to cut her off, then called OP back like, hey bro, I dropped the dead weight too. I just feel awful for the youngest brother who's still stuck in that house and likely has to deal with being his mom's one and only outlet for her abuse for the next several years. I hope the older siblings can get across to him that they can be safe havens.